Hi, and welcome to the Shoot from the Heart podcast with me, Diane Bell. If you want to write a script, make a movie, or quite simply live an abundant and creatively fulfilled life, you are in the right place. Each week I'll share with you tips, techniques, and real-world information that will inspire and empower you on your path. Thank you so much for joining me. I am rooting for you all the way. Let's do this. Hello, beautiful screenwriters and filmmakers, and welcome to this episode of the Shoot from the Heart podcast. This week I have a special little thing for you. It's actually a recording from inside my Write Your Screenplay in 8 Weeks group. And it was a riff that I shared in there recently about screenwriting style and about the screenwriting police. So if you're a screenwriter and you're ever wondering, am I doing this right? Am I getting it right? And you're doubting yourself and worrying about this, you're going to love listening to this. Enjoy it. And please, if you can, leave a review or take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. I would love to hear your biggest takeaway from this session. In the network this morning, one of the members in the network, she asked this question in our group where she was reading somewhere about screenwriting style, and they showed an example of a screenplay that they said was badly written. This was a badly written screenplay. And then they showed an example which was good screenwriting style. And the badly written one had very long descriptive passages in it. It was very wordy and very descriptive. It was quite beautifully written. It wasn't badly written. It was very descriptive. And then the second one that they said, this is how you should write. That's bad. Don't do that. Do this. And the second one was very much very terse, just one word, period, and lots of white space. And it was the white space. And it was funny because she wrote and she said, Dan, what do you think of this? Is this really true? Do I have to do it like this? And, I looked at it and it really stirred up a lot in me because I think sometimes, I share my preferences as a screenwriter as if they are facts, right? It's the truth. Your screenplay has to be like this. And I think everybody does this because we all have our own tastes and we all develop our own beliefs about what is good screenwriting and what's not. And if you continue down this path and you keep writing screenplays and you keep reading screenplays, you're going to become very fixed in what you think is good, just like you are with other things. Right now, when you watch a movie, you walk out of the cinema and you have an opinion, right? Do you have an opinion when you walk out of the cinema? Are you that was good, that was bad, here's what sucked, here's what was awesome, right? There's things that you like about movies. You might like a slower paced movie. You're I love the fact they just took their time and those long shots of the sunset or the field, that just really spoke to me. And somebody else is I hate those long shots. I freaking hate them, right? It's get the movie going. Can't stand it. And just like you have those opinions about movies, you're going to, if you continue the path of writing screenplays and reading screenplays, you're going to develop your strong sense of what you love and what you think is great and what you think is awful. And I have those biases. When she showed me these things and I could feel her nervousness, am I doing this wrong? And I was no, to be honest, I have read scripts that have paragraphs like this for their action lines. And they're so descriptive. And you know what? They got made. And sometimes with really big stars in them. And they did great. So I don't like that as a screenwriter. So I teach in our program and in everything, the return key is your friend. Make more white space. I believe that's a better way to write a screenplay. I think it's nicer. I think it's more elegant. I think it's more stylish. I think it's better in all the ways. But is it ultimately true that it has to be like that? No. And so I wanted to just share a little conversation with you today that be very careful about believing that there's only one way to write a good screenplay. And I hope none of you have that impression at all anyway. And it's why I'll always say, read as many screenplays as you can. Read screenplays. Because the more screenplays you read, the more you realize that there are multiple ways to do this. And, we started this call today talking about this formatting question. And really with most sort of situations like that, there's not a single answer. There's not a definitive answer. It's not this is the only way to format this kind of scene and everything else is wrong. It's not true. There's a number of ways you can format it. And there's many different ways to write your screenplay. There's many different styles that you could have. You might be the kind of person who writes more descriptively and you write these bigger paragraphs. And that might be exactly what is right for you and your voice and the kind of stories that you want to tell. Or you might be somebody who is punchy and short and just terse and it's like loads of white space. And that might be absolutely right for what you want to do too. In some ways, I think that style, which is very dominant in many ways, and I've been guilty of promoting that style, I feel like. I don't know. Do you guys get that? Do you think I promote a sort of like terse, white space, very punchy kind of style? I don't know if I do. I think I do a little bit. But I want to acknowledge that I think that style is quite a masculine style and it's quite an American mainstream style. And that links into also your story structure and the story structure that we're told over and over, like your film has to be this. I mean, Save the Cat. Has anybody here read Save the Cat or looked at it? I don't know, is it as popular as it used to be? I feel like 10 years ago or so, every screenwriter was obsessed by it. I don't know if it is the case now, if people have sort of grown beyond Save the Cat. Because, for a while it felt like it was really a Bible. So I don't know if it's still, as I say, I feel like 10 years ago or so, like everybody was like, Save the Cat, you got to read Save the Cat, Save the Cat. And it's becoming a must to follow in novel writing. Yeah. And for me, I read that and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, I just disagree with it so much. And I'm like, it's absolutely true. And it holds very well if your intention is to write very mainstream, pretty conventional and formulaic movies. And not to belittle those movies, because a lot of movies are like that. And it's not that they're necessarily bad or wrong or any of those things. I don't want to take away from them. But that's not all movies. Like, not all movies conform to that. And many of the movies that I love most, and I come squarely from an art house background, the films that I really love are mostly very art house. They're nothing like that. And good God, if all screenwriters thought they had to follow Save the Cat, we would just annihilate like 80% of the best movies ever made. They would just be ripped out from existence if we said only movies that follow this are good and should get made. It's like, what? Are you insane? It's one way, and I get it. And there's a certain value in seeing that if you want to write a very formulaic American movie, then have at it. And not to say there's something wrong with that. That's great. That's cool. That's what you want to do. But it's not the only way. And it's certainly not the only story structure at all. At all, at all. So I'm saying Save the Right is becoming a must follow. You do say white space is important. I haven't read the Bible. Yeah. I do say white space is important because and I just want to share with you, honestly, that's my bias. That's my bias. I'm owning it today. I'm like, and I just want to debunk myself. That's my bias. That's my preference. That's what I like to read. That's what I find is elegant. I do remember a friend of mine was producing a movie, which got made, had big stars in it, premiered at Sundance, got widely distributed. And he showed me the script when they were still in development. He showed me the script of it, and I was just like, this is awful. Because it was just like these paragraphs. I can't read it. It's just like, oh, does this person not know how to write a screenplay? What do I know? What do I know? And here's the thing about all of this, that what do any of us know, right? We know what we like. And just like we were saying about when we come out of a movie, we've all got opinions. We walk out of that movie theater and we're like, that was great. That sucked. They should have done this. I hated that. Right? And, no two people agree. One person's like, that's the best movie ever made. Other person's like, that's the worst piece of shit I ever saw. I saw one of these things recently, actually. It just cracked me up. It was in Facebook. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's a movie that's basically been panned. And the article was the director talking about it, saying how strange and disorientating it was that the movie had been so badly received, because he said, I thought it was pretty good, actually, and I'm really surprised. And then in the comments, there was just like hundreds of people chiming in, and 50% of them were like, oh my God, I love that movie. That movie's brilliant. It's fucking great. I don't understand the critics either. And the other half of them were like, oh no, the movie's awful. It was a total waste of time. Who's right? Like, who's right? And if we can't agree on the movies, I guarantee we can't agree on screenplays either. We cannot agree on screenplays because it's art, like there's a part of it that is craft. There's a part of it which there are certain standards. I think we'd all agree. The story's either engaging, working or not. Like there's a certain standard. But beyond that, it really is just about taste and choice. So my thing with each of you, where I want to go with this conversation, is just like, when we're starting out as a screenwriter, we often get in the headspace of trying to do it correctly and trying to not give ourselves away as being beginners or being new to it. We want to make sure we're doing it right. So I look like a professional screenwriter. And there's nothing that's giving it away that this is the first script that I've written. But we are artists. We are, right? Like that's us. We're not here to actually conform to rules. And sometimes I think, trusting your own instincts, even when you're absolutely new, even with the first script you're writing, there's a certain freedom in that. You haven't yet got to the place like me where you're like, it should be like this, right? 'Cause you're like, I don't know what the fuck it should be. I've never written a screenplay before. There's a power in that. There's a power in that. And what I'd love for everybody in our group to do is, just write the screenplay that you feel called to write and write it the way that excites you. And read screenplays and be excited about the craft of screenwriting, but don't be beholden to the idea that there's one correct way and that you have to follow certain rules and you have to please me or you have to please that person or you have to tick all the boxes there, because you really, really don't, right? You get to do it your way. I remember when I worked with John McTiernan, and he was the director of Die Hard and Predator and Hunt for Red October and tons of movies. And I was rewriting a script with him, and he had this weird thing where he never used the normal font for screenplays. He just point blank refused to use Courier. So we would spend a whole day just playing with fonts. And this is really crazy. Not only would he just change it to one font through, he liked to use different fonts for different things. So all the log lines were in one font. He liked bold for the log lines, slug lines, scene headings. So he liked them to be bold, but he also would use this really blocky font for the first script that we wrote together, which was a terrorist thriller. It looked very actiony. It looked very boom, and then he used a different font for the action lines. And I hate to say it, a different font for characters. And I remember just being like, I can't even believe you're doing this, right? And he was like, I've always done it. And I said, really? I said, to be honest, if I submitted a script and I wasn't using the correct font, everyone would think that I just didn't know how to write a script. I said, it's fine for you. You've made movies that have made billions of dollars, but I have not. And I think if I did this, everyone would laugh. And he was like, I've always done it. I've never used the standard font. I was like, what? I said, yeah, even the first script that I sold, I totally used all the different fonts. It just seemed like the right way to tell the story. And that stays with me because you wonder how somebody like that becomes as successful as they have become. John McTiernan obviously for a while was the highest paid director in Hollywood, right? And his movies have made an impact around the world. And you think, how does somebody get to that point in their career? How does somebody rise to the top in that way? And I think a lot of it is connected to their boldness and their commitment to tell the story the way that they see it. And to be pretty uncompromising about that, and also quite daring in that, willing to take risks and willing to fight for them. And I'm sure that is why his first script stood out. He was somebody that was just out of film school and hadn't done anything, but that film got sold and got made, and the rest is history. So just a few thoughts I wanted to share with you about this path, because I think it's just so easy to get in our heads that we're trying to do things right. And what I really want to offer to you is, yeah, we got to learn the rules and we got to understand the craft. It's important, of course. I don't want you to write things that are completely unsellable because they're just so out there. But on the other hand, this is your invitation just to have fun as well and to be really passionate about doing it your way. What do you like? And that's why, as I said, I feel like reading scripts is so important, because it's going, what do I like? When I read scripts, what turns me on? What excites me? What makes me go, oh, that's so beautiful. The way they wrote that is just stunning. What is that for you? And it may or may not coincide with what I believe. And I'm big enough to say that my word is not the be all and end all at all. It's my opinions and my taste, but there's lots of other ways to do it too. And I really want everyone in our group and everyone to just explore their own voice and find your own passion and find your own way of saying, I love this. I really love writing these big paragraphs full of description. Diane would freaking hate it. but I love it. And it feels like my script and it feels like the way to tell my story. And that is awesome, because that's actually how you're going to end up selling your script, by writing something that is just infused with your love, with your passion, with your voice. And it's not just trying to conform to other people's ideas of what script should be. So just a few thoughts. And so that's what I've got for you this week. I hope this was helpful. As always, if you've enjoyed this, please review it or screenshot it and share it with your friends on Instagram. Share it with me. Tag me at Shoot From The Heart 1. I'd love to hear from you. And also, if this was landing with you and you would like to actually write your screenplay with my guidance, join us and write your screenplay in 8 weeks. This is the kind of conversation that we have. This is the kind of thing that goes on in there. Right now, you can watch a free class on writing your screenplay. Go to dianebell.com/write your screenplay, and you can do a free class. And if you're ready to jump in, if you're like, Diane, I know this is going to work for me, go to dianebell.com/screenplay and sign up. We would love to have you in there. All right, my loves, I hope you're doing great, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. I know you can listen to so many different podcasts, so it really means the world to me that you chose to listen to this. If you've enjoyed this and you've had any value out of this podcast at all, can I ask a little favor? Could you please share it on social media or go to wherever you're listening to it and leave a review so that other people can find it? I really, really appreciate it so much. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you at the next one. If you want to get in touch at any point, send me a message, support@dianebell.com. And also check out my website, dianebell.com, and see what I'm up to. Hopefully I'll see you in the social medias. Take care, and I'll see you next time.